All right. So the first thing we'll do is call the meeting to order. Terry,
Here.
Sean McDonald,
Yeah.
Steve Mello,
Here.
Mary Waite.
Here.
Brian is not able to attend, and right now Christopher O'Neill is not with us. Sean McGinnis is here, Cody, Melanie, and Anthony Stavastano. So looking at our agenda, we're going to start by talking about the Collins Institute proposal. I'm hoping everyone got a chance to look it over.
So is that your house, Anthony? I thought they did a good job of.
Yeah, I gotta go chase that ambulance. I'll be right there.
Okay.
But they teach you that in law school, right?
They do, yeah. First one out there gets the client.
I thought Mike Ward there did a good job of kind of capturing what we were looking for in our discussions with him, and kind of I thought they were pretty good. I think they've been through this before. They seem to know a lot of what we were discussing and some of the issues we were having and debating over. And I thought his proposal reflected that. I thought it was pretty good. I was curious to hear what you all thought about it as well.
Were there any comparisons from any other agencies or anybody else that we could inquire?
That does a charter review?
Yes, they would perform the same functions.
We have not really. We can look to go outside. MMA has a charter review committee. They don't really do this type of analysis like the Collins Center does. This is kind of it's kind of a niche. But I have touched base with the form of government committee at the Mass Municipal Association, and they'd be willing to provide some support to sit in. And they were willing to come in and talk to the committee, but they don't do this type of analysis.
On Friday, I am attending the MMA's webinar on charters, which I'm so timely to attend. And I did send that out to everyone on this board. If anyone else wanted to go, sometimes having multiple ears are great, but they've also done a really good job at other webinars I've attended of sending either the Q&A or the packet. So if I get anything, I will send it on to everyone. But that was going to be one of my questions, is who have they worked with to delve into the nitty gritty of charters. Although I will say the Collins Center does list a number of communities.
Right.
And I was very pleased to see that the fee, all inclusive, $10,000, because when we first met with them, the fee was far more significant. That they were talking, because we were talking about them doing way more of the work.
Actually, it was $7,500.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Is that a flat fee, Sean, or?
Yeah, but then they have a per meeting fee after that, above the 10th. So they'll attend 3 meetings. That includes attendance in 3 meetings. After that, it's $1,800 per meeting, which I'm sure we can talk to them about that, because that $1,800 is, I would assume, in-person meetings, and then they say that their quote is for remote meetings. So that's up for negotiation. I don't think that's a big deal.
Heidi, I know you can't see me, hopefully you can hear me. I just, this is Mary, I just reading through, I think that they're gonna provide a service. I mean, what we get stuck on were numbers, can we reduce the numbers of members, those questions, and we needed that comparable analysis of other towns. And, it looks to me like they certainly have on their list of other towns, quite an extensive background there that they can bring back to the meeting. So I think it's gonna be helpful for us. It seems to me that's where we got stuck, and that's, and that's why we need them. So that would be and again, it helps us when we come to town meeting to also be able to, reflect on that research and say, well, whatever is doing, Taunton's doing this or whatnot.
I also really hope that they can guide us in the elected versus appointed boards.
Mhm.
How can we go forth with having a plan to treat them, all boards with the same lens, well, this is your task, this is how many people are on it. But if Steve Mello, if you want us to wait until I go to the meeting or attend the meeting on Friday to see if I learn of any other organizations, we can probably vote on this at our next meeting. If you'd like to know if there's other options.
It was just a question of more curiosity as what other options there could be, but
Right.
I'm also hoping to attend on Friday virtually that same meeting.
Oh, good.
So.
Because it's virtual, it makes it somewhat.
About a 1 hour
easier than
commitment.
Driving somewhere.
Yeah.
Depending on the weather and everything else up there.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, to Mary's point, I think, and Heidi, in line with your proposed schedule, I think going to town meeting and presenting, the changes that the committee wants to present, and then saying, we also brought in an outside agency, the Collins Center, that's done this for multiple communities. And, we worked in unison with them to find out what's best for Dartmouth, but also you all have, reviewed the charter closely and are in agreement. So I think that goes a long way, particularly when, town meeting's making a decision. They like to
Right.
hear somebody from the outside that they don't know is recommending the changes, not the people that they've tasked with the job.
right. No, but you're right. Then they'll know that it wasn't just some cockamamie ideas that we came up with.
Yeah.
If cockamamie is a word.
Sure.
I had a question about the facilitation section. How did people see that working? It sounds like you talked to them, Heidi. Oh, they said through communication with the chair. Maybe they thought you were the chair, Sean.
Yeah, where is that specifically, Terry?
It's the first paragraph of the
Right.
second, let me pull it up here. The second section. The first section is all about
What they're gonna do.
right, the memos, but then on page 3, and it is B, assistance to the Charter Review Committee.
Uh-huh.
I
Well-
understand the research and I understand the general guidance. I know because that's what they talked about doing, but what was the concept around facilitation? Facilitating this meeting?
I think presenting changes and discussing that and facilitating like a discussion around those changes. So, we've gone back and forth about a lot of things that we see as, issues in the charter. And I think they would facilitate that by saying, okay, well, and we tend to digress a lot and go off on tangents. I think by facilitating, they mean, let's stay on point, and this is what we're seeing in other communities. This is what, I think you're trying to come to a conclusion on. So let's kind of spearheading.
Well, it would be ideal if we could make this, come to some clarity on, what they have in that memorandum, which is the elected versus appointed, the size considerations for the representative town meeting, best practices regarding centralization or decentralization of government functions. It would be great to do that in one meeting and have them in the wings for our town meeting presentation.
Yeah.
Just saying. But I think they would have to come and bring us that other information. All right, hold on one second. Let me clarify what's happening in this office to somebody.
Mhm.
Talk amongst yourselves.
And I think facilitating as well, Terry. So if the committee here is proposing changes to go on the warrant, I mean, there's going to be some sort of workshops that need to happen prior to that, public workshops. And that'd be a good opportunity to have, the Collins Center in to talk about, kind of what they do, how they provided that support, and help facilitate those meetings as well, to keep people on point. So that's not, I can see if we can get them to include that here. If the committee wants to move forward, I can certainly negotiate some of this to have them attend a workshop or two.
Sorry about that.
She had to.
Running the school office as well.
What doesn't she do?
Your old high school friend is on the screen.
Oh, who's that? Steve, no, look at-
Yeah, look at Steve. Wait,
Did
get
we
over here,
graduate
Dana.
together?
Yes, you did. Remember Dana Mello?
Hi, Steve
I sure
Mello.
do.
Must be
How
my
come
first
the only one
home.
that gets older, Dana?
Oh, no.
It's
no.
not fair.
You look terrific.
It's not fair. He's a new daddy.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh my God, she looks just like it. Talk about digressing.
That's
So hey,
okay.
I was just saying,
Favorite
so,
digression.
if the committee wants to move forward with the changes to present at Springtown meeting, and there's going to have to be a few public workshops prior to that to kind of talk about the changes. And I think the Collins Center could help to facilitate those as well, and they'd be on site when we do that to kind of help,
Right,
Just
that might be helpful.
Hmm.
A use of their time. Really, we want the information that we've asked them for, whether they attend that meeting or they just send us the meeting with, best practices, target numbers, elected versus appoint. If they feel they can get that to us in a memo, they wouldn't even have to attend.
Yeah. And that might be a good question Friday for that form of government committee, MMA, like, oh, hey, if we were proposing workshops to change our charter, would, a member or two from their committee be willing to come and attend just to kind of give their perspective from other municipalities and people that have gone through the process? So.
Heidi, what would you say are the things that we want to change as a charter commission?
We had a lot of language, we had a lot of language changes, which I don't feel are that big a deal to, I do think probably the one that I'm most concerned about is if we're going to change any committees or boards to elected versus appointed, appointed versus elected. And if we're going to change the number of those committees, we have some committees that have 3, we have other committees that have 9. What should be our target number on those committees? What are the benefits of appointing people versus electing them? Should it be something that we're looking at? This is a revenue generating committee or board, or it's a revenue expending board? Which do we feel that the townspeople would say they have more say in who's sitting in those seats?
Heidi, it's
Yes.
Mary.
Mary, yeah.
Question, where do we have a land with UMass Dartmouth and what we were thinking about that precinct? I can't remember what that precinct number is. I know that was always a
3.
3. Thank you.
At a recent select board meeting, Sarah Aruda, who is the town clerk,
Yep.
has worked with UMass Dartmouth to secure a location on the campus for voting.
Oh, okay.
She thinks that that will help getting the turnout, especially at this November election where there are state seats that that they'll be casting their vote for, that maybe the students who are registered will participate. And if so, that will get them more interested in being a part of this. The bottom line is, though, we can't not include them. They have to be included. But by moving, so right now, precinct 3 and 4 vote at the Dartmouth Bible Church, which is on Morton Avenue. It's like a block from the university. But it only had, I want to say 60, that's in another notebook, 64 folks that showed up for the last election in September. And some of those were write-in, like either mail-in ballots or early voting. So we really don't know how many of those came to the actual precinct, so she's hoping by moving it on campus, we'll have a better turnout. We'll see.
Thank you.
That wouldn't have an impact on the town meeting representation from District 3. That's just the voting, which is great in itself, but
Right.
doesn't help with town meeting attendance.
No.
No, exactly.
Perhaps if they are those, political science majors that have registered to vote, maybe they'll be the group that decides they want to join the Dartmouth town meeting. It'll be interesting because if the campus still has us there in the following April when we are voting for town meeting members, those registered students could write their name in and be elected to town meeting, because it doesn't take much on a precinct that has very little representation. Teresa, I believe you are in that precinct, precinct 3.
4.
Oh, you're in 4, okay.
But they've always voted in the same location, even though there's nobody from 3 who comes.
So in November, 4 will be at the Dartmouth Bible Church and 3 is gonna try this on campus.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally it would just grow over time. I don't imagine they're gonna have much of a change in November, maybe, but I think if the students know, maybe the faculty know that the town has their elections on campus, they'll push it more as well, so.
So I have our next meeting as October 26th. Shall we table the Collins Center until then?
I don't know, Heidi, I feel like, I mean, what else are we looking for, I guess is I think moving forward with them, I'd be interested in moving forward with them. I mean, I think it makes sense maybe for you to bring a little bit more from Friday, those of you who are able to attend to, maybe extend, what we're asking them to do. Are we asking them to have a presence at town meeting, and to support, when we do our presentations at the workshops? But I'd like to see us, again, I feel like we keep pushing things off and things happen, COVID. Be nice to kind of get them in the loop formally. That would be my thought.
Terry, did you have a?
I just am a little reluctant to pay for a consultant and then not be clear on what it is that we want from them, and then be sending them $10,000 for, I don't know. I was hoping that the facilitation would help this group kind of move off of what they get stuck on. I thought that might be helpful. I think the research would be very helpful to know what other towns are doing and what they have in place. In terms of the presentation at the town meeting, I heard, I wasn't there, but I heard that at the last charter review, it didn't go over very well. They voted, I think, for about half of what was recommended. And that's why, Heidi, I had sent you a sample of what we could do with the charter. I don't know what you thought of that, but I think it's important for this group or somebody to separate out, because my understanding from Anthony is that every single change has to be voted on. Is that right? Capitalization, wording changes. So my thought is that if that's the case, why clutter up what we're recommending with all the things that have to be changed no matter what? And I thought pulling out the capitalizations, the word changes, the law, trying to update things legally and saying this is stuff that has to be done and you have to vote on it. You could vote no, but that means we're going to be behind the times. And then over here is what we're talking about as changes. But I think that has to be laid out for people. I don't think they're gonna, I don't think it's fair. I mean, I'm having trouble, to be honest with you, articulating what changes this commission is recommending, because it goes around. And so to expect the town meeting reps to do that, I just don't think it's fair. I think we could do a better job of, sending them something that's clear.
Right. I was hoping instead of having every change as a warrant item, that either we could do the entire, package, or we could do each article as a warrant item. So maybe some would pass And that would narrow down if we knew we had to make changes. Oh, we're only working in article number whatever, based on the town meeting in June.
I,
We'd know what we were working on.
But,
Sean,
oh, sorry.
I
Sean,
think the
Sean.
best way, of handling it is to do all the grammar, the punctuations and everything all at once, the entire document. That way it says, look, all we're doing is we're just changing punctuations. Send them a copy of the punctuation changes and then break out the radical changes or whatever, the significant changes from that document.
I think, you know, as you talk with the Collins Center comes in is you bring them on board, this committee meets with them. The committee decides, yes, these are the things we want to focus on, you know, grammar aside. I think you should really focus on what are the substantive changes we want to make to this charter. Then you might say, well, it needs to be totally rewritten, in which case then you're not worried about grammar or formatting. Otherwise, you might say with the Collins Center, okay, you know what? We don't think the town has the appetite for what we really want to do, but we know in the future the town needs to go in this direction. So while we're just looking at the charter right now, it's nice to go to town meeting to say, hey, these are the changes we're proposing now. You know, we're looking at it and the town's moving in a direction where next time around, I think, you know, we're laying the groundwork to go this next step. And that's where the Collins Center helps. It helps you think beyond kind of this 10-year cycle. I mean, I think we're 2 years into the 10-year cycle now. By the time we get this done, we're almost halfway there. And hey, another 5 years, we're going to be at this point and we're laying the groundwork now. And then maybe in these workshops, you find out people have, you know, more of a desire to make larger changes or not. But I think the Collins Center is a kind of good base. The committee works with them and you kind of hash everything out and say, okay, this is what we want to pursue. And maybe it's not just formatting, or maybe it is. So I don't know. That's kind of my logic, but I don't know what everyone else thinks about that.
I guess, Terry, my only concern is if facilitation, they are thinking that they're going to be facilitating our meetings, which I'm not offended if that needed to happen. We have, what I'm looking at, 8 more meetings before we set on the March warrant. We can't afford for them to facilitate 8 meetings for us.
Right, but were you just talking about narrowing it down and saying, let's do a meeting with these topics? And that's where I think it would be helpful, like you talked about 2 things, number of people on committees, and then appointed versus elected. So that might be 2 topics. Another topic that we get stuck on is number of town meeting members, right? That's a very popular topic for this committee. I'm wondering what other substantial changes were people thinking needed to happen? If we're just, you know, talking about it, we're not saying this is what we're going to recommend, but as we've gone through the charter, what else has come up for people?
I think you talked about elected versus appointed boards.
Yep, that's one of the things I said. Yep,
Okay,
number of
sorry.
people on committees. Representative meetings at you know, I think one of Anthony's comments is at large. I'm not sure what that meant, but I've tried to go through at least I sent you, Heidi, articles 1 and 2 with the proposed changes, and there's a lot on it that it's kind of visually overwhelming. I didn't send it to everybody because you're the chair. I just sent it to you to see what you think. But that's the idea. That's an idea of what I was saying. So, you know, what Sean McDonald just said kind of makes sense, that to try to do one article that has the things that we don't really have a choice, you know, they're capitals, but we have to vote. It's like a lot of things on town meeting, you know, they could vote no, but what good does that do us? And then do the separate article with the kinds of things that we're talking about if we get there. I don't know if we'll get there before the June meeting, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Sorry, Terry, I just did a scan and now I have found what you had sent me.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it prior. I apologize. Sean McDonald?
Anthony, if you can answer this question, I know you're muted and if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can hear it, okay. Any
Trying to
changes
save the
made,
battery on my phone because it's chewing up fast, but that's why I did that.
that's what chargers are for. Well, bill your next client a little extra, get a new phone. The changes that we offer to town meeting votes on it. Does the voters have to vote on it?
On the charter changes,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember how we did that 10 years ago.
Well,
I know the answer to this, and I'm sorry. I believe so. I should have the answer for this. I'm sorry.
That's a lot of, because that's what, one of the other things, see, this is the thing with an appointed charter commission, is that it's 3 steps: the charter commission, town meeting, the voters.
Yeah, I believe we went to the voters last time. We did.
Because if it's an elected charter commission, town meeting is completely taken out of the loop, and it goes directly to the voters.
Right, exactly. Trying to think what we did.
So the question is how much do you want to make the changes? Any substantial changes? Excuse me. Any substantial changes in board makeup, elected or appointed, really should go to, has to go to the voters, no matter what.
Right, anything that's a substantive, a form of government change, we can't do anyway. You need an elected charter commission to do a form of government
I
change.
think you can,
Or
I'm
or
not
you can do it by,
sure, but
or
you
you
have
can do
to
it by
check with the
special
state.
act.
I think if you make language changes, I don't think that has to go to the voters. Unless it's substantial or it changes the form of government. I think you need to get a clarification on that from the state.
Well, I have
I
the
will
answer.
take
I just
that on
gotta, I'll look
Monday.
at my files, like.
I mean, on Friday.
According to chapter, well, section 3 of 43B, it says that charter commission recommendations are placed before the voters for acceptance or rejection. If the commission has no recommendation, then there's no vote. So it doesn't, this doesn't define it further, but
Well, I do know in looking at our charter paperwork, we have some things that say amended by town meeting 6/3/2014.
Yeah, we did a
Approved by
bunch
the
of warrant articles last time. We did a.
Voters.
Warrant articles.
April 7th, 2015. So in the past, that's what has happened. It's gone to town meeting and to the voters.
Yeah, it's gone to the voter. Because even when we changed it from town administrator to, from town, change the title from, what was it, executive administrator to town administrator, we went to the voters. So yes, we do need to do that.
Wasn't there a change in the cemetery commission last charter review that was controversial? Again, I wasn't there, but
Yeah, we combined it with the parks board.
Yeah,
We gave-
and some
we
people were not
eliminated the
happy.
cemetery commission and put the tasks assigned to the cemetery commission to the board of parks and commissioners and recreation commissioners.
and was that controversial?
If you were on the cemetery commission, it was controversial, but beyond
I
that,
think
it wasn't.
A cemetery
wasn't-
person was.
And
upset.
so that's what I'm thinking is gonna happen. Think about us making a recommendation about the Parks and Rec board. How's that gonna go over?
Well, I think, you
Yeah.
know, that's kind of what the committee's task is. I mean, it's not to kind of make everybody happy. It's to say this is the best way that the town should be run. So no one is
I
ever.
agree. No, I agree with you, Sean, and I just think there's a lot of run between our recommendation and the vote. I think education, I think like saying the research is one thing, but people, I haven't seen people in this town very receptive to research on things. You know, they are more interested, I think, in why it would be good versus why, you know, what is the problem with the existing model, and, you know, why is that change? And I think that's where, and that's why I keep thinking about, well, how do we get what we're saying out to people so they can,
And that's where the workshop meetings come in. And,
Yeah.
you know, even if they're not well attended, they're recorded. And it's a good opportunity to float out some proposals from the committee. This is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts? And then, and also when you get to town meeting, you know, and there's people there, you know, our naysayers, you go, well, we tried to give ample opportunity. We really tried to garner input from the public through these workshops. So, and this is what, and maybe you go to the workshops and everyone's like, no, we don't want that for these reasons. And it's good for this community here. Or maybe they're like, yeah, that's a good idea when it's presented like that. Now that we have the information, it's not just kind of thrown in front of them at town meeting. So the workshops, I think, would be very important, you know, for two aspects, just to garner input and propose some things that, just to get a feel for people's appetite.
Can I just, I got onto my phone. So, but jumping in on that, I'm thinking about Sarah Ruda and the town clerk and how that was, it made sense to me that she would be again, keep that position rather than be elected, but town went against that. So when we go through this, ultimately, do we have to, again, I agree, going back to Sean's point of putting forth the entire document with everything, other grammar and doing that, but do we actually also have to present each change as, like, in other words, we have to deal with each article as a separate warrant, or should we even divide in, because in some cases, if we're making multiple choices with it, changes or proposing within that warrant, will we have, within that article, excuse me, would we have then the option to even break that down further so they're not voting? I'm just afraid that, we have 5 changes we want to propose within a particular article. One becomes controversial, the other 4 are good, we lose all 5, if you know what I'm saying. Like, so that's kind of where I'm wondering, like, how when it comes to voting, how far can we kind of parse it out? I don't know if I'm like
Well, you
articulating
can
this
make,
well,
there
but-
can be motions to amend from the floor.
Okay,
I mean, if somebody's like, oh, I'm not gonna have an appointed park board, but I'm okay with the appointed assessors and the appointed historical commission and
okay.
whatnot. Somebody I move to strike this portion of the warrant article. I just think the more stuff that you give them,
I just point out at this point, it's a 2/3 vote for these amendments as well. So it would
Yes.
require
Oh, thanks
a
for,
majority.
Just looking at the town election results as best as possible. 2016, there were 4 charter amendment changes sent to the voters. And that was it 2016? Yeah. No, question 1. No. Was it 2000? No, I'm sorry, it was 2015. 2015. Don't feel like paying for. Charter amendment was regarding the historical commission. There was a charter change on the town moderator, town meeting and elections, superintendent of public works, and advertising of operating budget summary, all of which passed.
I'm just confused in the proposal from the Collins Center. They say that the first sentence, the charter was adopted February 2000, last amended in 2007. So are those changes in 16 not on anyone's radar?
Well, they should
They're in
be.
the charter.
They're in the charter.
Yeah,
There's 5 changes voted on in 2015.
I think they mean just kind of on the 10-year cycle changes. Last amended.
Well, 2005 would have been a 5-year review, voted in 2007, and then 2015 would be 10 years later, which would show up for the voters in 2016, as Sean pointed out.
So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If we're looking to do grammar changes and stuff, setting that to the voters, that's gonna be crazy. It really is.
Well, I think that it would be, the proposal would be, these are the changes, not necessarily having them say, I think that should have been capitalized or not. I think we focus on, we cleaned it up grammatically, and these are the, more substantive changes.
Here's the new charter with those changes. You're voting on this, the new charter with those changes.
I don't understand what that means. What does that mean, Anthony?
We are striking the old charter and here's the new charter that you're voting on. With many changes, none of which are really substantive beyond making it internally consistent with other sections and consistent with the statute, etc.
So are you saying it could be one article on the warrant?
On that portion of it, if any more substantive changes would then, like Mary said, would either be grouped together or each one would be separate. And we've always done them as separate changes in the past. We did separate warrant articles. Each one was a separate warrant article and a separate question on the ballot.
I think you'd have a hard time if I gauge town meeting, if you try to present them with a whole new charter and say, well, it's only grammatical changes and some formatting, don't worry about it. They might look at it and say, well, what are you trying to do here? There's gonna be.
Oh, I'll give an
every-
updated red line version. They can go through. I'll do a compare and merge and have a red line version, say, here, go through. These are all the changes. I'm talking about separate from changing elected to appointed and stuff, just.
So do you
No,
think
no.
that going to
Quote
town
unquote
meeting,
cleanup.
we could do a warrant article that would be dealing with Article 1 and the changes in Article 1 and different one for Article 2? Or do we have to do warrant item 1 is Article 1, Section 1.3? I'm just using that as a, do you think we have to do, and a separate article is warrant item 2, Article 1, Section 1-4?
What?
That'd be a good question for.
You totally lost
Friday
me
meeting.
there. Sorry.
I think that's a question. I put that down as a question for MMA on Friday.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure the Collins Center could answer that as well. With they've gone through the town meeting process with their communities as well. So
My personal feeling is that we should do all the grammatical changes, punctuations and all that at once, period. This is the current. This is the changes with grammar and wording changes that do not significantly change anything. Now comes warrant article number 2. This is section 1. This is what we want to change. Article 3, this is what we want to change. Article 4, this is what we want to change. Each separate
article.
And each one of those adopted by town meeting would then become a
will become a question at the next annual election.
individual ballot question.
Right.
I think that makes sense.
I think that's consistent. I'm
We can't
not,
hear you, Mary. We can't hear you, Mary.
Mary, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, guys. So what I was asking is, those pieces where we, Anthony, we added in, like, it's not just going to be on a town bulletin board, now it's going to be on a website. Is that, would we consider that, I would consider it part of the cleanup? And that would be the explanation, or does that have to be, because that seems relatively minor, so would that be in our kind of cleanup, grammatical, but it is a different space. So I mean, that's one I think we continuously, as we went through, said, we have to be with the times, but it just seems to be
Yes. It is a substantive change. It's a minor substantive change, but yeah.
Okay, so we would have to put it in.
Well, I guess you say cleanup, making it grammatical, correct, make it internally consistent and updating it to current practices that we're using today.
Okay.
And would updating it according to general law, because you referenced that several times, is that also part of the cleanup, or is that substantive?
after town meeting takes action, it has to go to the Attorney General before it goes to the voters on the ballot. So that would bring in the general law consistency. or at least a confirmation of compliance.
You know how sometimes there's an article on the town meeting warrant that, like, say from the planning board, that we know if the voters say no, there's gonna be problems for people. So it's not really a fair vote. It's not like really saying, you know, it's optional for you. There are things that are optional and things that are not. That's how I feel about it. If we have to update it according to the Mass General Law, it kind of seems silly to say you could vote no on this because they really can't vote no on it, right? But I know what people are saying, that all those changes have to be given to the voters. It's just not common sense to me. So if those are the things that kind of have, I agree that if bringing it up to the website, you know, talking about the changes in Mass General Law and how the charter's out of step with that, to me, that's all under the heading of cleanup.
Mhm.
Muted. Unfortunately, today we have spent the hour discussing whether or not we want to go ahead with this proposal for the Collins Center, or, you know, how are we interpreting it? And we still have work to do. Our next meeting is October 26th.
You could postpone it to that meeting. We'll hopefully have a couple more people in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think 2 weeks is gonna kill this committee.
No. And, you know, I'll try to bring back information from Friday's webinar that I can send out in advance.
Yeah, I was thinking about joining that, but I got a webinar at 11 for collections on condo fees.
Mhm.
And then there's one at 2. Friday
That's a
is
lot.
kind of like, yeah, it's just, and the way I feel right now, I think my brain would collapse. Like
Implode.
that, it'd be like in that movie Scanners.
So I think we can hold on that one. Hold on the Collins Center, and the date, I mean, next meeting was not a meeting that Dave said, I mean, not Dave, Brian said he couldn't make. So hopefully he will be in attendance. We'll have a little bit more information from Friday's webinar.
Are all future meetings going to be at noon?
Excuse me.
I missed what you said, Terry.
Are all future meetings going to be at noon?
That seemed to be work for everybody, but it wasn't, it works for Sean. Wait, Mary?
So as of December, it won't work for me. I wouldn't be able to join in until 12:30. I'm actually taking a teaching job. So just, you know, I mean, that it is what it is, but I have a break from 12:30 to 1:15, and that lasts until April. So
Oh,
maternity, you know,
oh, okay.
Is that
Yeah.
December?
December through April. It's maternity coverage at St. Phil's.
Well, we can make that adjustment.
Okay.
12:30 is good for me. I just have to go to the post office early, that's all.
Okay.
So 12:30 starting in December?
Starting
Yeah.
in December.
Okay.
That would be, and then I have until 1:15. It's it's that time break teacher planning.
As long as we start off with a quorum, we can finish without a quorum,
Okay.
unless
Right.
somebody calls a quorum.
In
So
December
noon on the
right now,
26th.
we only have one meeting.
Okay.
Right.
All right, let's move to let's go over the minutes. Let's review the minutes. So we're going to hold on the Collins proposal, and let's pull up the approval of minutes. If we could do that. Let me just get to my other screen. We'll at least feel like we've accomplished something this time. So we're looking at the August 10th
Okay.
meeting.
Can I throw something out just because
Sure thing.
I put it in there and we talked about it a lot. I recommend that we have how many we have 9 precincts now. That we have 20 voters per precinct, and then if that changes, or 20 members per precinct, and if that the number of precincts changes and the number of members change, that'll bring us down to 180. I've been thinking a lot about this, talking to other attorneys from other towns. Because we usually are, the most we've ever had filled positions are 200 anyway. So something to chew on before the next meeting. It'd be nice if we came out of this with something more than discussions when we go to the Collins Center as towards the recommendations.
Well, I will, again, I'm adding that to the MMA because I have that, at some point, we had discussed that the state recommended 240. And so I did some math, trying to figure out how we could go to 240. And would it be realistic? And I know at one point, someone had, I think it was Steve Mello, talked about having an at-large group, which if we were to reduce the number of town meetings, I think the at-large group would help, because for those precincts that have more than the number that we would be reduced to, those people could run for the at-large seat and then not feel.
But then you do the same thing. You had 20 at-large members, so now you're at 200.
Right. So if we did, I got all the way up to 24 from the 9 precincts, gave us 216, 24 at-large members gave us 240. So that was, I mean, this was just me like playing around, trying to figure it out. And then I said, oh, well, if we ever went to 10 precincts, then we have 24 from each precinct. We wouldn't have the at-large. But again, you know, I'm going to take that as a question to this webinar to see how other communities are doing it. Of course, the last time I went to an MMA, I was seated next to a gentleman who is on is a select board member on a board of 3 for a community that has a total number of residents is 500. So I'm pretty sure if he attends, his town meeting is not going to be 240. But I think
He probably has an open town meeting.
might, yeah. And that will be a discussion, as you know, we did talk about that, so I'll add that to my list for MMA on Friday. All right, can we look at August 10th? In the packet from Melanie, it is there.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of August 10th and September 22nd as submitted.
I'll second.
I didn't find anything wrong with them, so.
Okay, you did not, how about August 25th? Do you want to include that one?
Oh, August 25th. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me just take a quick look. Okay. That was a quick look. All right, so I'll just make a motion that approve the minutes of August 10th, August 28th, 25th, and September 22nd.
I'll second all 3.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question on the August 10th minutes.
Okay,
And that is that there was a meeting apparently after with you and Anthony and Sean to clarify the holds that were placed. And is that written down anywhere? What the holds were?
The whole document is the document that I had sent out to everyone on the committee, like as we were working. And I guess if you weren't at the meeting, or if it was from so long ago, Anthony wanted to be clear on what we meant on the holes.
Okay.
So are you thinking that the holes should be a part of the minutes?
No, I guess not. No,
It was, no, because it was only the chair meeting with town council and Sean, and we got the product. We got the final product anyway,
mhm.
as a
Okay.
result of the meeting, so.
Yeah, and in the end, it was just Anthony and I, we ran up against having a conflict with Sean, another meeting in conflict.
Okay.
So I'm going to move forward with the approval of the minutes of August 10th, August 25th, and September 22nd. Sean McDonald,
Yes,
Steve Mello,
Yes,
Terry Ham,
Yes.
Mary Waite.
Yes, for the 10th, I have to abstain from the other two because I wasn't there.
Okay, and Heidi Brooks, yes. So at least we accomplished something today.
I think it was good though, Heidi. We got
Always.
a lot of, around the Collins Center and what we're thinking at least, so, and things to bring on Friday and then come back to. So I don't know. I think it was, and also just really understanding what we want, what's really up for debate right now. So I don't know. I thought it was productive.
Now, as far as our October 26th meeting, can people meet at 11?
I can.
Anthony, it's critical if you can meet,
Yes. Yes.
and Sean McGinnis.
I can be there, yeah.
All right. So Melanie, would you make sure that the next one goes out for 11?
Yes.
All right.
And Mary can do that?
I can. Yep.
That's before she takes
Yeah.
over.
It's not until December. So.
And I will send something out to Brian and Chris to confirm that. And any other things that you think of before Friday that
Okay.
if I can ask MMA if something else comes up, please email me. And if you can attend on Friday, please do. I think if you put in your job title that you're on a charter review committee, I'm quite sure they'd be happy to have you.
it did go through. I've registered and that was all it took.
Oh, great.
Very easy.
So I'm going to ask that we adjourn today's meeting.
Okay. So moved.
I'll second
I'll make
that.
a motion.
Thank you. Terry,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Sean McDonald,
yes.
Steve Mello.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to go
Thank you.
change out of order. The screen keeps changing where the Brady Bunch is sitting, so. All right, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.